What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today we're talking Week 4 college football. The Friday slate of games, we'll get into all three games. Before we do, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We're also brought to you by Bet365. And if you live in Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado, Louisiana, Indiana, Arizona, North Carolina, or Pennsylvania, they've got a deal for you. All you have to do is click the link below, make your first deposit, then place a $5 wager on any game. Could be a team, could be a total, whatever you want. Whether it wins or loses, you are getting paid out $200 in the form of bet credits. You must be 21 or older to play, 18 in Kentucky. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, I'm going to bring you to our Odd Shopper live odds page on the college football section. We're going to talk all three games, so let me scroll down so we get rid of this South Alabama game. Stanford and Syracuse, where we will begin. This is pretty clearly parked at 8.5 across the market, even juice on both sides. I want to talk about a total more than a spread, though. It's at 57.5. So this is a very interesting competitive game. And right away, the pace stands out to me. Stanford 16th in pace with a 52% pass rate. Syracuse is 60th with a 59.9% pass rate, nearly 60%. Both these teams are off a bye. We've seen Stanford in one competitive game. They lost by 7 points to TCU. They were pretty soundly outgained in that contest, but they also had a couple turnover on downs that, had they gone their way, could have easily led to more points. It was a bit of a sloppy game. And then on the Syracuse side, we've seen them in two fairly high-scoring games. They beat Ohio 38-22, allowed 200 yards rushing to Anthony Tyus. And then they beat Georgia Tech by 3 points, 38-28. That was a game where they pretty soundly outgained Georgia Tech yards per play with 6.6 to 5.9. Syracuse also left some points on the board. They missed a field goal. And they also had a punt blocked where Georgia Tech missed a field goal. So definitely more points could have been scored by both teams in that game. As far as injuries go, the only guy I'm worried about on Stanford is Tobin Phillips. He played 6 snaps. Stanford doesn't give you fantastic reporting, so I'm not sure if he plays. He's a defensive tackle. And perhaps the biggest loss is Marlowe Wax on the Syracuse side. He's out 6 weeks. He's the team's best defender. So that's another potential number that points towards the over for these two teams. From there, you look at how the defenses stack up against each other. I think we're looking at fairly weak defenses. Stanford's 107th in coverage and Syracuse is 106th. What do both these teams try to do? Throw the ball over your head. The one concern I have with this is the Stanford O-line. It's still very young. A lot of second-year players. They're 80th in pass blocking, 104th in run blocking. So they don't really have a lot of threat to run the ball on you. But Syracuse is also 125th in opposing run defense. Is the Stanford rushing attack better than, say, Ohio? Maybe. I don't know. On the other side, I'm not really concerned at all with Syracuse scoring, especially against a team in Stanford, which is out. They're in the bottom half of the league in every single category, run defense, pass rush, and then they're way below with that 107th ranked coverage. So first of all, I think Syracuse does their part getting towards their team total in this game, which at 57.5, we're looking at pretty reasonable marks here. You basically need this to end up 34-24 to some point in time, something like that, put you over this total. And again, I think Syracuse does most of their part. I also think we're kind of buying low on Stanford. I mean, we had a lot of very good production out of Elike Omeyer and Tiger Bachmeier late last year. And Cisse, the guy they've been playing a lot as their third wide receiver this year, just looked awesome. He's carrying the ball even at times. So I think this can be done. Both defenses very weak. Pace, pass rate, both fine in this game. I took a 57. It's now moved to 57.5. That's not enough to scare me away. That's a number I'd still take. And, of course, if you ever want access to these picks when they're released, I'll just show you right now. My Tails is available in the link below. It's basically just a community of people that like betting. We do a lot of cool stuff with props. We do a lot of cool stuff with power ratings and stuff that's not available to the public. Realize it's not loading right now, but I promise there are. Here they are. Here's just a couple recent ones from earlier this week. Some of these have already moved a little bit. But if you'd like that, it's below. Take advantage of it if you please. All right, second game as this loads back up. We have Illinois, Nebraska. I won't lie to you, this is one where I don't have quite as much interest. It was an Illinois or pass prior to the line movement, which has now come in Illinois' favor. They're sitting at 8.5 points. And there's one book out there, Circa, is hanging at 7.5 with Nebraska on the other side. So it's been bouncing around. I was considering Illinois around 9.5, wanted it to get to 10. It went the other way. They are the side I prefer just as a buy low team. If you force me to pick, but that's still really challenging. Just overall efficiency metrics. Again, all of these are available in the Discord. Illinois comes in at 22nd. Nebraska's 34th. I think that makes sense. Both these teams have one difficult opponent. Illinois beat Kansas 23-17, but that was a game they should have lost. They come in with a sub 50% post-game win expectancy. Meanwhile, Nebraska, they played Colorado in a game that probably should have been a little closer, 28-10 overall. But the yards per play was pretty close, 5.1 to 4.2. Colorado threw a pick six. And if you look at the turnover-worthy plays attributed in that game, the pick six was not one of them. So when Shedeur came out and said the pick six was not his fault, he wasn't wrong. I don't know if he should say that as, just a leader, but he wasn't wrong. From there in the game, Nebraska missed a field goal. Colorado had a field goal blocked. They missed another field goal themselves. Colorado had a turnover on down, a 4th and 1. Nebraska blocked another Colorado punt for touchdowns. I mean, there's a bunch of noisy stuff in that game. And I'm not sure we've seen the best of Nebraska's offense, but they're still playing a freshman quarterback whose passing efficiency metrics are certainly elevated by the cupcake opponents they faced outside of that Colorado team. I don't know. The run game has been somewhat suspect. Both these teams are really slow. 121st in pace is Illinois. Nebraska's 115th. Both of them hover between 45 to 48% pass rate, so that's not fantastic. You just look at what these teams have done on offense specifically. I think there are some O-line concerns with both teams. It appears Mascu is going to play for Nebraska. We'll see how much that matters. But aside from that, the biggest concern I probably have is the Illinois run defense. They're 89th. They lost a ton of guys this offseason. Like Newton was off to the NFL. Randolph is gone. That's by far the worst unit from either team on defense. Nebraska has just been absolutely stout everywhere, which made sense. They had 10 starters returning and a lot of them in the secondary. So I'm still hesitant with Illinois. I can't pull the trigger. And aside from, I think their fraudulent win, I'm also not sure their quarterback is very good. Altmaier has decent efficiency metrics to start the year, but 3 big-time throws, 3 turnover-worthy plays. None have turned into interceptions. He doesn't run the ball a ton. The O-line is allowing a 31% pressure rate. I honestly think part of it is they face an FCS quarterback. They got the worst game I've ever seen out of Jalen Daniels, so I guess props to them a little bit. But they still allowed 7.2 yards per carry to Devin Neal and 5.6 to Daniel Highshaw. Shame on Kansas for not exploiting that advantage and letting Daniels throw 3 picks. And then they played a third-string quarterback against Central Michigan. In that game, they allowed 8.2 yards per carry to Miles Bailey and 7.6 to B.J. Harris. So maybe Nebraska just pounds the ball with Dante Dowdell and Ramir. I don't know. But full pass for me in this second game. We'll wait and see if the line moves anywhere interesting throughout the week. Last one up, one I do have a lot of interest in, is San Jose State taking on Washington State. This is down all the way to 11.5 at BetMGM. Juiced a little bit, but holy smokes. I took this at 13.5. I think I have a 14. I'm going to bet this again if it keeps moving San Jose State's direction. I just flat out do not understand this. I'll bring you all the way back to power ranking season in the off season. When we did the Mountain West, San Jose State came in dead last in power ratings in this conference. Now they were barely behind Air Force, who happens to be one of their wins in a game that was a 10-point victory. These are 2 of the worst teams in the country, in my opinion. The only difference is San Jose State has some wins. Air Force does not. But who are the wins? They beat Sacramento State, who's an FCS team. They gave up 24 points in that game. They beat Air Force by 10, and then they beat Kennesaw, who's another bottom 10 team in the country, making the jump from the FCS. They won 31-10. They have one of the best turnover margins in the entire country, but 2 of those turnovers occurred against Air Force, who is a triple option team, who was down in the game trying to throw the ball from behind. Then they had 3 turnovers against Kennesaw State, who was in the exact same situation. That's another option offense trying to throw the ball from behind. You couldn't draw up better opponents for San Jose State to begin the year. So I'm very concerned with their body of work. I think it is very weak. This is a team that underwent a coaching staff change. They come in with a complete unknown at quarterback. And while he's been pretty good, this is Emmett Brown we're talking about. He doesn't run whatsoever. He's negative 33 rushing yards this year. I have concerns with the offensive line. Now you have to face your first legitimate opponent of the season in Washington State, who's a good team and has put up some good wins. They beat Texas Tech, who we just saw absolutely demolish North Texas last week. They beat Washington. And while that game was really close, they were in the game the whole time. To speak to that, Washington outgained Washington State yards per play 6.8 to 6.0. Really, the whole thing came down to Washington kicked 4 field goals. They didn't come away with a lot of points when they made it into the Washington State territory. So it didn't really matter that Washington State did not gain as many yards per play as Washington. They stopped them when it counted in a very close competitive game. And any way you want to shape this, the Texas Tech win and the Washington win are far and away better than anything we've seen San Jose put on the field. So let's talk about the teams briefly, just like efficiency metric stuff. The defense for San Jose looks awesome. They're currently 23rd in defense. Again, that's bolstered by turnovers, which they help you a ton in efficiency metrics. I think those are all fraudulent. Washington State is a pretty good defense. Their main concern, in my opinion, is against the run, but I'm not sure San Jose State can do that. They have basically one good receiver, and that's Nick Nash. One of the biggest concerns I have with San Jose State is they're 111th in pass blocking, 123rd in run blocking. Washington State is 28th in pass rush. Washington State's also getting back one of their starting offensive linemen that hasn't played yet this season. So they're actually getting healthier. I don't know, man. I just had vast differences in power rankings from these two teams ahead of the season. And I'm not willing to back San Jose based on the 2 bottom 10 wins and the 1 FCS win they have this year. I'll lay the points with Washington State. I already have a bad number, but I'm likely to bet this again when it finally settles. We'll see how far it goes by Saturday, because I am full out on San Jose State. Could be wrong on this, but we'll find out. Until next time, we'll see you guys on Friday, I think, for the Saturday slate. We already have betting you out, so if you want the full breakdown, go watch that. Otherwise, doing a little best bets, the top 3 bets for that slate. And, of course, if you have questions, reach out to me on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Until next time, good luck, and we'll see you later.